got some bad information.
I wouldn't do this, but my battery's running really low.
Yeah, all right, can I call the meeting to order at, we'll call it 9:34. I'll wait for Patrick to.
Yeah.
Also 9:04. Roll call, Dorney. Fisher.
Andrew's coming in.
Oh, Andrea's coming in, okay, good. Gerald. Here. Kingsley. Here. Hathaway is absent, Lewis is excused, McLaughlin.
Here.
Navarre, here. And consultants, Lesich.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
And Damon. Great. Any public participation at this time? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Lisa. Washenko? For attendance. Lisa, are you here? No, Lisa. Absent. Bottom line, next line there. All right, any public participation? One last slide. Hearing none, moving on. Approval of last meeting minutes. Any questions on the minutes of what was it, 6/21?
I move we accept the minutes.
Support that.
Motion by Gerald, second by McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's passed. Gerald and last board meeting minutes. Unfortunately, I can't produce those. Barb was out of town and didn't have those ready for this group. I think it's important that you know what's going on. I will just say that at the last meeting, since you were not aware of it and there were no notes went out, the board did approve to bring in the Woodhill group for account management of the of our LASA accounts. And records have since been collected from Sandy's home and brought back.
Could we get a copy of the contract with them so we know what they're responsible for?
Yes, I will get you that's an excellent point. I will get you that contract. So I will send that out to you. So we get to send copy. And the results were the first results came out with the new July billing, which hopefully everyone's saw and saw it as an improvement to the situation. Lot to do though, a lot to catch up on. We'll go through that when Michael reports. And Ted wanted to get out of here early, so can we move on to operational issues and IMEG report, Ted?
Sure, good morning. Regarding the easements, we have not heard back from Mr. Fink yet. So we're kind of waiting on him. I bumped him a couple times. I did not bump him this week, but I will do so before the next board meeting so we could keep that moving forward. The other thing that we had on the docket was the reliability report, which is a copy is included in the agenda package. So we haven't finished the modeling yet. So that's coming. I don't anticipate any problems showing the modeling. We have a static system. We're not adding new customers, so there's no growth drivers here. We typically, I don't like to get the crystal ball out and look at if Granite Hills comes or if the golf court lot's developed until they actually do. And at that point in time, we might want to relook at this, but we might want to relook at this underneath an escrow paid by those, by those contributing flows. So probably the most important thing I want to point out in that report is the table 4.1, the historic water usage. It has basically stayed the same over the last 5-6 years. We're about 120,000 gallons a day and about 300,000 gallons on the max day. That's not attributed to a water main break or a flushing event or something like that. So everything's staying the same unless we have a bunch of new customers coming in. Everything's going to stay the same. So that's kind of the sum total of it. And I'm sorry, I don't want to start my video because I'm on my phone and I don't think it's going to work very well.
Okay, I guess the only question we always get asked is, well, how much capacity is left, so to speak?
Well, the wells are roughly 540 gallons a minute, and which is 750,000 gallons, and your max day is 300,000. So you could probably double your flows without too much trouble, disregarding pressure issues and storage issues.
And not requiring any further treatment issues, yeah?
Yeah. The tower is a bit shy of volume needed for fire flow, but it's also, it's something that we wouldn't suggest changing at this point. Both for expense and both for water quality issues.
I'm not sure a bigger tower won't give you more water quality issues.
Well, it sits there longer, right? But
Yes. Exactly. Okay.
I would like to bring.
Any discussion? Go
About the
ahead.
tower, okay. I previously advocated grading the tower in accordance with the engineering study about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They recommended every 5 years that tower be drained because there's a catchment area within the tower. And I have personally observed a massive amount of rust flow out of that tower drain. My question, I'll end it with this, is did the last study, the robotic inspection of the tower study, conclude that the 5-year interval for draining the tower was not needed?
The last part of the study, as far as draining, there was no indication of any sediment in the bottom of the tank from the camera, the below water camera. Or there's no pointed discussion on that, was there, Brandon, to your recollection?
I don't think so. I'm trying to pull up the inspection report that we got.
We did just, Neil, we did also, for your information, we already got the scum off the top. We had a major problem last week with the blowdown. I don't know if you noticed or saw it or affected you.
No, I didn't.
Okay, it did.
It overflowed for about 30 minutes or so.
So we got a little clean off the top, scum off the top stuff.
I'm still uncomfortable about the sediment in that tower. If you would have been there to observe the Iron River flow through the woods in back of me, you would probably feel the same way. I question whether a camera can detect rust through water. I just don't believe that. And you could comment on that, but.
Are we getting water quality complaints?
I'll make one myself. The rust is there. My filter fills up in several days.
Really?
Yeah, but just the long and the short of it, did the last study say there's no need to follow the original plan of the 5-year flush?
I don't, well, Brandon, do you have any recall of that? That report?
I've got it up now, I'm trying to find where they were talking about that.
When was the last?
The last inspection,
Yeah.
they did an inspection a year,
21.
21. This is kind of, we're getting a little bit off, but it is an important topic and it's one of Neil's that he brought up that's in the agenda below.
You know, it was a horrendous process to drain that tower. You gotta provide water for about 3 days with the pumps. And the operator has an added responsibility to monitor the pumps through 24 hours. But I wish I had a picture to show everybody what it looks like when that tower is drained. And the other question I have, Ted, do you have a picture of the structure inside that tower, a diagram, engineering diagram of the catchment area I'm talking about?
I do not have one handy, Neil.
Yeah.
I'd have to look in my archives.
Well, I'll bring it up. I'm still a strong advocate of following the original plan for draining the tower every 5 years. And I don't want to dwell on it any further.
So we didn't do it here. I can tell you this, Neil, we opted to try the drone approach, submerged approach, with saving some money. And they identified a number of issues which we have to take the tank down for to address some of those
During
issues.
the next painting project, yes. That's
So,
what was in the recommendations for during the next painting. They did
so
do some.
what we said, Neil, is the next painting cycle, which is gonna come up in about within 5 years, we're gonna have to drain the tower and do all that, correct? But there was no sign or no report of any additional sediment, no concern for sediment in the tank expressed at the time of the drone inspection. That's all I can say. So it is on the radar. It has been postponed for a short period of time.
I just.
Now, I understand your concern.
You can't just drain the tower any time of the year.
That's
You
correct.
can't do it when the high volume usage is there. You gotta do it in the spring or fall. So it takes a long range plan to carry this out. And the plant operator has to change his manning and everything else to make it happen. It's not a simple process.
Agree. It does take a lot of planning. And at that time, we've got to get other improvements that were cited up to code, up to state standard.
Standards, yes.
State standard and stuff, really. Any other discussion on that? So, for the sake of the water tower, if you'll just look through that and double check that there's nothing, Brandon, it is in the books. We need to put that on the plan.
Probably look at painting here in the next few years.
This is all before, but the tower is currently an ugly device. The belly of the tower is coated with all kinds of algae.
It's getting to that
Ugly
point.
sight, really. You think about, you have to drink the water coming out of that container with this growth on the outside.
So the exterior painting is also a concern you're bringing up, correct?
Yep.
All right, so that is so noted also. I think we need to look at that.
And I think to paint that tower, you have to drain it.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
yes, when we paint, which is, we're saying in the near future, within 5 years, we will be doing interior and exterior. And we will be draining.
The paint was last done, the coatings on that tower were last done in 2010, according to this report.
I'm sorry.
2010 was the
2010.
last paint job.
Yeah.
And they normally say 15 to 20 years, don't they?
Something like that, yeah. I don't remember what it is exactly.
Ted, you got a period of time, those paint jobs last usually?
I think it's 10 to 15 years, 20 years, something like that.
It's kind of like a roof. It's about 20 years time to replace it.
I mean, they get inspected every 5 or so, right? So
Yeah, they have to inspect every 5 years.
So would we inspect before we paint? Our next inspection is due in 26?
Yeah, because it was done in 21. So yeah, will be the next tower inspection.
So in 26, we'll definitely be inspecting and, looks like painting, if there's interim.
You could roll them together
What
if
do
you
you-
wanted to paint it. Just roll it all together, do the whole
Agreed.
thing with inspection and the painting as one project.
Right.
yeah, I agree with that.
All right, what do you think, Dale? Is that,
I still stand with,
you want to do it now? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, that's my position, but I'm only one person here on this committee.
Any other discussion? The costs now are 3 times what they were.
Do you have a mud well that you can drain the bottom part without doing the entire tower?
That's a good point. Ted could determine whether there's a way you could siphon off from this. As I recall, the diagram, it's a catchment area.
There's a mud valve, yeah.
Drain that causes the water to run under the road, down in the woods. It could be a way to.
Well, we had a drain now, we had a situation 2 weeks ago was overflowing and it was not going across the road, correct?
Yeah, which was weird. So the situation we had was one of the wells would not shut off with the UIS. There was some comms issues and UIS is working on that for us, but it left the well on and the tower actually hit 30 feet, I think, and started to overflow. And it never ran across the road,
So we had overflow occurring for about 30 minutes.
30 minutes or so.
Yeah,
At pumping rate.
but there's a bottom drain in the stem of the tower.
The mud valve, yes.
Myself.
It would seem like it's feasible that we could
Just
open
blow
and
that
see what
down.
happens. Okay.
Blow it down.
Draining your water heater. That's what. it would
Drain some of that out. We could try, we could. look
Yeah,
into
we should look at that.
that.
Ted, could you confirm we got that and, or Brandon, I guess?
They talk about the mud valve. It's a good
Yeah, they-
condition.
Okay. All right, we'll take a look, put the mud valve on your list, Brandon. All right, let's, anything else for Ted then? As far as any comments on the reliability study at this point? Get your comments back to Ted. Ted will be presenting it at the board meeting then, the final?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion for Ted? Let's move on then, operational issues, Brandon.
Well, we had the issue with the water tower, the UIS is, as a matter of fact, we've had quite a few comms issues. I know I talked to Dave on the phone. They originally used Verizon cell cards in the modems, and as a matter of fact, Verizon went down completely for 4 hours one day, and we had to run the water plant manually. So I talked to UIS. I have AT&T. I had perfect service. We switched the cards to AT&T, and we have not had any issues up until 2 weeks ago when the tower overfilled. Had no issues for 3 weeks with cell communications between the tower. Originally UIS, it would notify us if we had a cell communication issue after an hour. Now it's down to 30 minutes. So that we're knowing within 30 minutes that we're having a communication issue. They're working on trying to figure out how to make it so that there's a fail safe in there. So that if we do have some sort of comms issue, that it will still communicate. So that's what the reason the tower overfilled. The well couldn't communicate, the well couldn't shut off. We had a gentleman headed up there to turn the well off manually, but before he even got there, it shut itself off. So there's that. The generators at the water treatment plant, we had a period of time where it would just come on randomly, then wouldn't shut off, and we'd have to fill the fuel in it. So I had comments out there several times, on and off, trying to figure it out. They just got the circuit board in that they suspected had failed on it. They replaced the circuit board. We've not had a single issue since. It's been about a week. So it's not just coming on and wasting fuel.
So during all this past couple months, there's been a lot of power outages in the neighborhood too.
Yes.
So you've been running through all those without, you've been able to keep up.
Yep. We've been just fine with the generator. I mean, we had it in off and you just turned it in auto and it would come on and take over.
Okay.
And thanks to the Wolf has been filling the generator for us because he's available right immediately. If you tried to call one of the haulers, they won't haul on the weekend. They don't have drivers, but the Wolf's been on the spot with making sure that generator stays full of fuel because it runs about a day and a half on a tank.
Tank a day.
Yeah, about 40, it only holds 46 gallons. So not a whole lot of fuel. There is a small issue with the water tower generator that Cummins has ordered parts for. They told me 14 days and it's been pretty close to 14 days. They should have the parts here soon. But the generator still runs.
So all the generators have been running so much, we've got a lot of maintenance on it too.
Now, and they're due for maintenance actually here this month. So they'll be also out, servicing the oil. I was gonna do it early if they could get the parts, but they couldn't get the parts in time.
I would like to add a comment. We didn't only have power outages, we had power surges. In my house, for example, I had $700 worth of power surge damage to electronics devices. Is there a possibility that some of these surges damage the telemetry in the tower?
That's a valid
Brought a
point.
claim to DTE. I know the address and how to do
it. We have surge protection on all of our telemetry. They put a battery backup surge protector on all of them, and that's a good point. We probably should go check those, maybe replace them if you've had some surges. Because you're not far from water tower or well house too.
Right, he's right.
Maybe
by
just
there.
replace that surge protector just to be safe. That's a good point. I didn't realize there was surges.
Oh, I mean, unbelievable. On, off.
Yeah, we haven't noticed any issues with any of our equipment, so. Yeah, we can do that. We can look into getting replace those surge protectors.
With all that equipment, pumps, water tower controls, we don't monitor surging at all?
We only monitor power fails. So if the power comes on, comes off, we can only see that. We can't see like if they're giving us like a excess load or something. So I can only see just that the power's on or off.
I want to know if that's easily added, provided, or.
Not me. I'm not an electrician.
Right, yeah, it just seems, just monitoring it anyway, it just seems it might make sense.
Yeah, I know we have phase monitors that monitor the 3-phase power, and usually those will take the hit, and we have not had issues with those phase monitors. Sometimes those will take a crap on you and you don't, then all of a sudden the pump won't work and
If you
then,
don't record those or.
One of your legs.
yeah, when one of your legs goes out, it,
Yeah.
sometimes can take out a phase monitor, but we haven't had issues with that.
Randy, do I recall that there was some discussion about transitioning from diesel to,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, cause that kind of goes to since we're on generators, I know Ted and I talked, and actually Neil actually came up with an idea when I was collecting his lead and copper samples. because of the cost of switching to natural gas, you'd have to put a meter up there at the water plant and all this other stuff. Neil brought up maybe we could get a little pony tank to sit next to it so that we could fill it manually every day if we're running on generator power. Might get us by for a while, but long-term, I think natural gas would be better, but you know, depending on the cost of a natural gas, which I know I priced out for well house 2 at one point, they're pretty pricey. I wanna say it was like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for something like that, but I'd have to dig back in my emails and see what all he quoted to run well house 2, because we should probably look deeper into that too with all the power
There's gotta
outages.
be gas right outside of well house too.
Yeah, if we put one at well house 2, I know Ted and I talked about putting one that would run both the plant and the well house
That's
too.
not, so far, I think
It's
it's
such a
probably
diff-
easier just to
Do too.
tap into, make 2 taps.
Yeah, it's something we can explore a little deeper. I know I have some emails from Cummins about a generator. To dig back, they were probably about a year old. We probably should revisit that and see what it would take to put at least a generator at well house 2. Because that takes basically the 2 biggest wells out of service. Which in a fire flow situation, if you have power outages, you know, you don't have the fire flow with only well 1 running. You've lost your 2 biggest wells now out of service. And I believe that was even in the sanitary survey
Yeah,
about a generator at that well house.
well, we probably need one, we ought to be looking at the option of the 2 well, was Ted gonna put some initial numbers together or something on that?
I
Don't
honestly.
remember, anyone else remember anything on that?
I think I'm still here, Dave. 5 more minutes.
Oh.
We can do that. I can take a look at that.
Just a quick assessment, you know, 2 versus 1 and gas, bringing gas to both sites.
Okay.
I will find that email for you, Ted, and send what Cummins had sized for those. For well house 2 anyway.
Okay.
The plant, wastewater plant is natural gas already, or is it
The
diesel?
wastewater plant's natural gas, yep, and so is the water tower. It's just a little natural gas generator.
Okay. All right, so. That's the power issues. Any other discussion on power and generators? How are we doing on
Meter replacement.
water meter replacement, battery replacement? This is why we brought in Woodhill Group. We need to make a decision. We need to get a plan going here now. This group has to come up with a plan to, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna go back and continue to buy the sensor meters, or are we gonna switch? As these sensor meters go out, are we gonna start buying somebody else's, and is it gonna interface properly with our accounts, data management, et cetera?
The data management I can't speak to, but I did talk to SLC, who sells the Badger meters. Their endpoint, which is a cellular-based system, and they would come out and do a study to make sure it would work. They are compatible with the census meter that's in the house, so we just have to go to the outside of the house and hook it up and program it, and then it would go to their beacon system, which Michael's very familiar with.
So we'd have to reinstall at all the houses, the exterior transmitters.
Yes, what my thought is if Michael knows which ones are not reading, he can generate work orders for us if we decide to go with Badger. We can then go out, change the ones that aren't working out, and those can be on beacon, and then as more fail, we can replace them with those beacons.
And that's no additional effort for him. Well, Michael could talk about that.
Yeah. And then my thought would be is as meters die and we run out of meters, we can then just buy Badger and just slowly phase them out instead of trying to spend a bunch of money right off the bat. There'll be some initial cost to get the Badger beacons, but then we can just slowly work our way through it and replace the census ones with Badger.
We'll
was the brand of meter that the city of Dexter has changed?
Metron Ferner,
Yeah, have we looked at that?
I did call them. That was a while ago and I'm trying to remember now. I think they did the same thing. I think they could do the same thing. They would do basically the same idea as the Badger with
Why
their.
don't we investigate both of those and get studies done so that the Lhasa board can make a decision on a program moving forward?
Yes.
So, yeah, so who heads up that? Is it Brandon or is it Ted pulls some numbers together? Who's gonna be in charge of that?
I would think that the sales people would, with just a phone call from Brandon, would be willing to institute the study and we can move on from that. I mean, it's not an engineering thing in terms
But it is a
because
compiled.
of telemetry, we need to make sure that the study is done. And then it's a matter of looking at how to go about doing it. And I like the idea of fixing those situations that we have today.
Correct.
50-some, and then having spares on hand and then replacing them as they fail, as opposed to a wholesale replacing of some things that are still under warranty that the manufacturers defaulted on.
Do we continue to pursue the?
Yes,
The
I think in
lawsuit?
terms of monetary damages, not in terms of.
Agree.
And that's for Mr. Fink to.
Now, keep in mind, so Brandon, you're saying these other metered Badger, we'll see what the other one is. They're cell-based. So they're more than what we have now with the census meters, cause they are just drive-by based. They're no cell.
Yeah.
No cell requirements. So we're adding cell. We're going up a notch in the metering process. Agree?
Yeah, Michael can speak to it, but you can actually read those meters, what, every 6 minutes or something, Michael, depending on the.
Meter, can you hear me all?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can, each meter will transmit up to 4 times a day. And so you're getting 4 times a day. It's measuring every 15 minutes, but it transmits a read to the platform every 8 hours or 6 hours. I'm sorry. And so how that works is on a cellular based system, you pay for there's a basic platform and then there's a per month charge for the cellular service. So we'd have to look at what that would be, starting off with a relatively small inventory of endpoints to do that. But yes, it is possible, and I can provide the information on the addresses to whoever that wants to send it to the vendors.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so Brandon, or can your group make the contacts?
Yeah, I'll talk to Metron Ferner again. Looks like I talked to
Couple
him.
of numbers together.
I would like to make a comment about
Sure.
water meters. We didn't used to have water meters 35 years ago, and we decided to have water meters, and it was a hassle to get the first set of meters in. And the reason why we went to meters was not equity, it was to make sure that we had enough water to provide everybody in Loch Alpine. There's nothing different, there's a little variability in the use of water in Loch Alpine. We certainly could, if we had to go back and say simply, the water bill for everybody is bang. There's no water reading, nothing, no meters. That's a possibility. I would like to see some data of the usage variation among the customers in Loch Alpine and see if there really is any need to have meters.
meters, encourage people to save water. I am OIC at a place that has no meters and everybody used twice as much water as they do in a metered community.
Well, we already have meters and people think, say, I might have to pay more, but we don't have to read them. We don't have to read them 4 times a year. What's the point of it? They're already there. We simply make life simpler and spend less money for engineering and batteries and replacements and hassles about installing meters. But like, I don't even know if we have the new meters in all the houses yet. Do we have them?
We have two. We have only two that are outstanding.
Can someone show me a list of all the use by customer to see what the variation is among the users? It seemed like the committee ought to know that stuff.
I don't have those.
Well, yeah, Michael has that information, I'm
I can
sure.
provide that. Yes, I can provide that.
But I don't know for what purpose, Neil, we're not gonna go away from meters, we're going to continue to meter. You wanna change it?
I don't think we're gonna remove meters, but we can look at it and say, why do we read it 4 times a year? We spend money billing.
You want to go back to basing it off in a
What is
REU
your thought
equivalent.
about it? What do you wanna do? Yeah.
It seems you want to go back to like a residential equivalency unit?
I couldn't hear that.
Oh, sorry, Neil. You basically want to go back to a residential equivalency unit, so it's a flat rate fee?
It's a possibility. I mean, if we have little variation, why meter?
Well, there is yeah, but let's get the data, we'll discuss it down the road. If we can get that data, that's something we could look at for sure, but I think you will find there are 20 or 30 people here that have 2 meters because they use a lot of water.
There's sprinkler meters.
Yeah, so there are some issues there, but we can look at the water variation. Let's start there and see if there's anything to be gained.
About the idea of reading once a year, cut down the cost of billing and.
Well, I don't know, we could, the problem with that, Neil, would be people complain all of a sudden when they have a high usage. When leaks start occurring, their bills start going up and they start questioning and then they find the leaks. I'm not sure once a year billing, wouldn't create a lot of additional complaints by a number of homeowners, but any other discussion on it? Any thoughts? What do you think, Brandon?
I lived in Loch Alpine when we had a flat rate. I typically, during many of those years, spent the summer at my cottage as opposed to living in the house. I'd go home to maintain things and mow the lawn and so on a couple times, not necessarily mow the lawn a couple times a week, but go home a couple times a week. Use no water whatsoever, and yet I paid the same as people watering the lawns, up the street. I think that from my standpoint, having meters and reading the meters is an equitable way of providing water to those people who want to use a lot of water, and being fair to the people that don't use a tremendous amount of water. In terms of frequency of reading, I think we want to make reading of meters as seamless and harmless as possible to both the operator and to Woodhill, and be able to, in a lot of communities, people can look at their cell phone and track their usage of their water. So if they do have a toilet that's leaking or something, they can be at work and they can find out and go deal with it. I would like to get to that point.
You would like Lhasa to get to that point, okay? Well, that's what's available to, the data now is available in this way, and it'll cost a little more than the old way of either once a year or whatever lesser number we go with, but I think in general, people wanna see more data nowadays. Any other thoughts?
I have one more thought. I said, it
Okay,
would be good to look at what this meter thing has cost us. I forgot the figure for the latest install, but it's a horrendous amount of money. And can anybody recall that figure?
the number,
Yeah.
yes, the number,
$250,000.
$250,000
$50,000.
for the first go
goes to
around.
the bill of the
Correct.
guy.
And that's why we're not gonna stay with this, that's why we're not gonna stay with this meter company
I know,
if
but
they aren't gonna,
what I'm saying is
Step
the
up.
whole idea of metering is an expensive cost of operation. And I think we, as a committee, we ought to consider that.
you know,
That
okay.
what does that cost a customer today for all this metering costs? I mean, it's horrendous. It's probably more than,
Well, there's
Any other-
500, there's over 500 meter users, so it's only $500 it costs them.
well,
To give you an idea,
It's not
you know,
working.
$500, and it saves, minimizes pumping. It cuts, it just makes everybody more responsible in a equitable fashion. For someone who wanted meters in the first place, you have to look into the other side now, huh? Well, we need to be open to keep discussing this, but let's get our numbers and we'll make sure we want to go ahead, Neil, because, and that's why we changed our accounts manager. We need input from that person on what options we can form, and we gotta get our butt moving on this now. We can't, we've got situations, they've had these bad meters for 2 years.
Yeah, this is Mike, to quantify that, we had 76 meters that were estimated out of 538 customers. 76.
76 non-operational.
Yeah, that are not providing us a read during the billing cycle. Real quick, as far as flat rate versus metered usage, we do have a consideration with Lansing v. Bolt, and we need to have a component of the rate that is controllable, that is variable and controllable by the customer, essentially. So as one gentleman mentioned, he went on vacation up north all summer, didn't use any water, while his neighbor used a significant amount to water lawns. So under that, resident A should pay for the water they use, resident B pays for the water they use, and then each pays that fixed component of sewer debt and RTS fee, simply to have the service available. So those are some considerations. I do understand metering's expensive, but it is pretty much a necessity.
Agreed.
So those are my thoughts. I won't go on.
Can you send me the list of those addresses, Michael, that the meters didn't read?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Michael, what would you expect in terms of a proportion of, meters that you might estimate?
I have another community where we do the cellular-based system. We're at 98.7% meters that are working out of 1,600. We have like 28 that have had issues. Some are cellular connectivity, others are just a meter problem with some type of wire broken, that kind of thing. So less than 2% is what I'm always shooting for. as opposed to what, 76 divided by 500 and some.
Well, and one thing Michael and I have been talking about is because we've got these meters failing, is him being able to now generate a work order for us and keep a tracking of, he can generate a work order for us. Hey, this meter's not reading. We decide we're gonna go with the cell system. One guy can go out, change it out, complete the work order, send it back to him. We're good. Same with the curb boxes, cause it's been on my list of things and I've been trying to get with the Wolf to get he's not responded real well. I know he's busy and all the contractors are busy. The one we used last year he's busy. And then Michael can generate work orders for curb box issues. If we find a curb box, we notify Mike, he generates a work order. Good way to track everything and everything's a record of what we're doing.
Good.
So, I'm trying to get another 5, including Neil's, cause his now doesn't work. And get those replaced. But I've gotta get the Wolf. The Wolf agreed upon meeting the price that the previous company would do.
You should.
And I've been trying to get that in writing from the Wolf so that we can move forward and get a schedule and just knock them out.
Good, excellent. Look for those options. If there's anyone else, if we've got any other contractors you would know of, Michael, that would do that,
Yeah,
let us
Lester
know,
Brothers,
'cause
or we
we're
can reach out to
struggling.
them if we start having more trouble. The Wolf has done such good favors for us. I was trying to, throw him a bone here. And
Good, well, I think that's,
he does a nice job for us.
Yeah. So you got 4 or 5 now, curb stop replacements, 5
We
left?
still have the list. I gotta get that over to Michael. So we're both on the same page. I actually remembered that today that I forgot to send that to him. And then I've got a list of 5 that have bugged me about it. And I'll
We
get
got
those.
more than 5,
Oh, yeah,
on curb stops.
there's a few that we don't even have records of. We've gone in and looked and there's no record of it there. We go out, we look, we try to find, there's nothing there. One of our meter people, we're gonna call him this afternoon, to get a schedule to change his meter out. He didn't have one at all. And when we dug up his line, it actually snaked through his yard. It was really weird. And we did that last year and then he was an older gentleman. He had a heart issue and had to have some things done. So I kind of didn't push the issue with him. He's been really nice. So he's back home now and I'll give him a call here this afternoon.
So do you know how many homes don't have curb stops?
Not offhand, ones that I've found, I think we had a list of 10 and we knocked out 5 or so last year. And then I've got a couple more that they're broken. Neil's, we tried to turn his off for him to make sure it worked. And Andy couldn't get it off. It's froze up. So it's just gotta be dug up and replaced.
He didn't go out there and put those stones in there so you could turn it off?
No, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. We've had people fill them full of dirt and you gotta go out there and back them out. No, his is just froze.
Okay, any more discussion on that? Sewer inspection cleaning, did we ever get to that?
So we had some hiccups. I just got off the phone with her today. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be done. We had some issues with dumping. We couldn't find a place to dump. And then our truck caught fire. And now we've got several people off on maternity leave. So we're in about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we're gonna get on it. I've been a little upset with that lady on our end of our company on why this hasn't been done and why I don't have a schedule yet. So we will have it by the end of the year. Done.
Any other issues?
Other than just getting them here and getting them working has been my challenge. So, and it is, I know we talked about this before, it's a new endeavor for F&V on the vac truck side. And it was something you guys and I was a little angry with her over it. So, some higher ups got involved and we've got it moving. So.
Well, having some experience with first time operations in a new area. At the church festival, I was in charge of the beer. We brought a beer wagon in And the first time he had just built it, the local parishioner, none of the plumbing was right. I couldn't get beer to come out. So I know how the initial operation always has some bugs in it, shall we say?
Yes,
You
yes.
need to test everything out ahead of time.
Brandon, did you say that the sewer inspection cleaning would be within the next 2 or 3 weeks, or the schedule for it?
Well, we're gonna schedule it within the next 2 or 3 weeks to be done,
Okay.
is what she told me on the phone just today.
Right, so schedule, okay.
So we'll have it. I don't wanna go into winter or fall. I got some vacations planned in the fall. So I don't really wanna go too far into that, so, but that's why Andy's here. He is, since we're talking, he's going to eventually be your new project manager. He's eventually gonna take my position with you guys. I'll still be available for you guys. I'm not going anywhere far, just, he's one of our up and comers, when got all the licenses for you and giving him a leg up.
Andy,
Started,
what's your last name?
Koon, Koon.
Okay. Is this effective a certain date, or we need to update our website, other phone numbers and all that stuff? What do we, when are we gonna officially do that? or not?
we'll let you know.
Okay.
We were just easing him into it, getting him used to the plants, getting him used to the system. Not like what happened to me, just kind of thrown at it.
Okay,
We don't want him to quit. We want him to stick around. He's pretty good.
all right.
So.
All right, we gotta introduce you to Sam and all the neighbors. All right, anything else, any completed projects, you can report?
I wish we had our recirculation pump in and done. They told us this morning, the 24th of October is when the pump's scheduled to be delivered.
All right,
So, that's a little farther out. Michael and I ran into some hiccups, with, an account for them to get them for billing stuff. We got that situated and then they ordered the pump. So we had some hiccups there.
are we straight on billing now? Speaking of that, with all the subcontractors, everything goes to loss of billing, is my understanding.
Yes, I took care of the stuff on our end. I know we had like two outstanding invoices for meter replacement, that Michael's taken care of. I think so. I think DeWolf is aware of where to send his bills.
Okay,
I think everybody has, so.
and they're going where you want them to go, right, Michael?
That's correct. Yes, lots of billing at lotsofwater.org.
Okay, all right. That it? Moving on, operational policy. One of the things I had in there was review the chairman of the board responsibilities, develop a plan to replace chairman at the January meeting. I have moved out of Loch Alpine, so we need a transition to occur. I've got some of the responsibilities as I saw it, and we've also got other issues with the next item is with Will Hathaway resigning, and that'll be voted on at the township meeting. So,
And could I give one update on that?
Sure, yes.
Just so you know, first of all, thanks for your patience with me. I just learned about this yesterday. So I will first find the 1957 court order. What I had Christy pass out to each of you, and we can get up on the website, are the current bylaws, which Jim Fink is reviewing right now. I've asked our township attorney, Jim Fink, to prepare a brief written legal memo for the township board to advise us on what to do in such a circumstance where the supervisor resigns. There's a couple different paragraphs in the bylaws. I think everybody admits they're not as, they could be interpreted two different ways. And as always, the legislative record, the court record will be important for Jim to consider. Being the fine and ethical attorney he is, he will probably prepare it as a attorney-client privileged memo to the township board, at which point I will request and would expect to receive approval from the board to release that privilege so that we can have the benefit of it here. So I would anticipate the board needs a minute to kind of catch up. Will just sent an email to the board late last night saying he has resigned and sharing a letter that he sent to you, it appears yesterday. So we'll figure out what to do, but I just want LASA to know that, you know, Scioto Township is fully committed, and I know there are you know, multiple members of the board who would be happy to step up and help out. I know Patrick is fully committed as well.
Okay. Good update on the information. And so we'll wait to, yeah, this information we've never had available to us before, or at least we're not aware of it. So we got to update our website accordingly, but we'll wait on till we get the official information on all this stuff.
Sure, and those are the official current bylaws. And Jim has those. I think everybody's recognized, the court order will be an important piece of information for Jim to review as well.
I do
Any
have
other
one
suggestions?
question about the Third Amendment.
Sure.
It was not signed by the clerk of Scioto Township or the secretary treasurer. Is there a fully signed copy anyplace?
Let me try to locate that. John, I will tell you, this is sort of I have this in a cabinet between Will and my offices. I don't think he knew this was here. And so I will find that, because I agree with you. At this point, we need to make sure we've got the true and correct copies of each document.
Okay.
So, yep, just give me a little bit of time. I'll come in this weekend and find things if needed, but hopefully I'll have it resolved by this afternoon.
All right, so so as far as right now, the board, Loch Alpine board, who put me on this committee and board, I told them I'd work through to the change of guard, which is their annual meeting in March. So and they agreed asked me to stay till then, as of now at least. So I just want to see a smooth transition occurring here. Right now, I guess at this point, with me leaving at that point, the backup or is John is the assistant, or what's the official title? Assistant or
Vice chair.
Vice chair. Vice chair. The vice chair would take over it, realizing though John's not running for office next year. That's publicly known.
We don't know that yet.
Oh, we don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't worry about
The
that.
deadline's in April.
Yeah, okay, we'll know more then. Stay tuned. So I assume at this point, John would take over.
Could I make a comment in
Yes.
reviewing files that I believe there's a stipulation in some document that says November of each year that the LASA board is to convene to elect officers and committee members. And I'm wondering, is that going to happen? Or are we going to ignore that one?
We've ignored them for years, but
Yeah, we have ignored them.
We've been about 80% on track though. Let's give it. Yeah.
I've always tried to do that the first meeting of the year. Nobody told me what to do, but I just took
it's this document that says it's November.
Oh, is it?
And also our township has been in violation of appointing the trustee in the odd years, at least 60 days before the end of their term?
Yes, and I want to say Scioto Township Board has also been in violation of working on the mistaken assumption that it is the supervisor and clerk and then a community member. We have a fine community member, but in fact, the language states another member of the board, either the trustee or treasurer, a trustee or treasurer. And then if any one of them decline to serve, then they may nominate a qualified elector. I think Patrick's doing an awesome job. I'm not proposing any changes. I just want to state that misunderstanding, I think, has been going on for many, many years.
We're in compliance on that issue.
Congratulations, Sean.
All right,
Everybody move to Webster.
no, that's not what they want. All right, so we move along in that direction. And the other thing I just note for everyone in this meeting, more discussions with Neil has been very informative. The old LASA worked, as Neil says, he's been in charge for quite a while, had been in charge, and the operations group ran LASA.
Mhm.
And the board is really just a management oversight.
Judicial.
Yeah,
Yes.
judicial, yeah.
And you know, Dave, I noticed something when I had the opportunity to read these this morning. In the original bylaws, something stuck out to me, the 1957 bylaws, which creates the operating committee, which is to run it. But also it states that the chair of the board is the chair of LASA and the chair of operating committee and should have no other executive or administrative functions. And I thought that that was interesting, given that here we are with the problem of your position being, I think, overburdened with administrative and executive duties. I think having Woodhill on board, are being able to develop a procurement policy, some checks and balances. I also noted, you know, the 1971 amendment states, well, the 1957 and 71 also note that there shall be a treasurer of LASA. And effectively, it's been the two clerks and the two supervisors who have been treasurer. Our names are on the bank accounts, John, along with Will and Barb. But that might be also something we could look at, is designating the treasurer. I think that would improve our practice.
Separate from accounts manager. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, actually has to be done.
Has to be.
Yep, yep. Okay, well, that's very interesting. The only other thing I'll add is back then, like Neil said, everything was, if the operations group needed to get it done, they also were able to get paid for their effort for showing up, not to a great degree, not to a huge degree, but at least they'd be compensated for their time at some hourly rate or a portion thereof. And since then, Spalding came in and we basically said it's voluntary. The only thing you get paid for is a board meeting.
Oh, that's when it changed?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's when Bill Ince had to change and no longer bill for his services.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I do think that, you know, certainly we can't do everything at our October meeting, but I recognize, you know, with the transitions of our accounts manager, along visit with Michael and Barb at the wastewater treatment plant, reviewing some of our files that had been transferred there. You know, I feel, you know, my eyes are opened and recommitted to kind of digging into some of these organizational issues, because I think we need to kind of do a refresh, including on, I know Colleen Coogan called me, Michael, I don't know if this is part of your update, but she said, hey, so LASA runs payroll for 7 board members who are paid 4 times a year. And I said, yes. And she has some ideas about how we might compensate whomever this board decides to be compensated in a more cost-effective way. Because running payroll the quarterly reports, the 941s, all of that, paying for the subscription to BSNA for that particular module, those costs may not be worth it. So I appreciate Michael and Woodhill Group because I would encourage them to continue to give us those sorts of recommendations for us to consider.
Could I make a comment on compensation? When Don Z was the supervisor and I was the chairman, I was vice chairman, the LASA board voted to pay the chairman and vice chairman for visits to the plant because we had employees. We literally had to manage employees, had trucks and all this sort of thing. And the fee was the same as a board meeting, $50, okay? The only other payment of committee members that I recall was when we had $1 million contract to make a major renovation. And we hired one of the committee members, a non-trustee, to oversee the construction. It was a daily visit to see what was being accomplished according to the construction plan. And I don't know what happened to following that, but that, is beyond, above and beyond the title of administrative duties. So nothing was done outside the book as far as I'm concerned. There were actions by the board documented in the minutes, not somebody's idea, say, well, here's a check, go fix this or something.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on that? Thanks, Neil. I'd like to move along here. We got a little bit more to go. Next is the Neil's had an email he sent out on some proposals to consider. You want to still go through these, Neil, as far as motion? The first motion was to offer $600,000 to purchase the following lots in Loch Alpine subdivision related to the golf course. I guess that's one issue. The second issue was curb stops, replace those. We're working on those already. Let's take care of that. And execute a contract to drain and flush the water tower. We kind of discussed that. We'll get into that. So the remaining one you had on your list there was the purchase of the golf course lots for, $600,000, whatever, or offer in that line. You still think that'd be a good approach?
Absolutely. Let me, if you give a minute, I can explain.
Sure.
That there are 3 lots. I think it's 3 lots. Did I say 3 or 4? That encompass 115 acres.
5.
In Loch Alpine in a clubhouse building and a pool. A recent court ruling against the current owner's idea of building 100 houses fell in favor of the Improvement Association. You can't build any more houses on the golf course. I don't know if they might appeal, but I think the appeal period has already expired. So we've got all this land out there and miles of sewer line and water line and buildings and two wells that produce 80% of the water are on this property owned by the so-called golf course owner. I forgot their title anymore. Something
A2C2
or something. And we have these 2 water wells producing 80% of our water on private property. If that's not the way that the state of Michigan or anybody believes we ought to operate, we ought to have control of the well sites. Okay? We ought to have access to these properties better than an easement to own the properties. Okay? The use like wells 2 and 3 are also like in a floodplain. And we don't need anybody invading that property in any way to threaten those wells. getting water around Loch Alpine is not a simple issue. It's a very difficult issue. And I'm proposing that this organization be authorized by the board of directors of LASA to look into the possibility of purchasing all or part of those properties to protect LASA assets. And again, this is beyond the administrative responsibility of this committee. It has to be approved by the board, LASA board, to get anything done. This falls into the category of other major problems we've had in Loch Alpine, like replacing the water tower, building a filter building, expanding the plant for $1 million. It's a major effort. And there isn't anybody except this committee that has any possibility of resolving that issue.
Well, couple of thoughts. The owner can't build on it, the property now. It's, the court says, no way. So are we protected? Just my thoughts on it a little bit. So are we not already protected? Number two, the clubhouse and pool are potential high risk properties that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. No way, because of all the mildew, those buildings have been abandoned, windows open, flooded. That place has got mold all over the place. I wouldn't want to purchase that stuff at all, is my thoughts on it too. We're taking on too much risk. That's not our, but I do understand we are at risk for those wells. You're absolutely right. Those wellheads on that end of the golf course are a potential issue. Any other thoughts?
I have easement?
No, we got easements. We
Okay.
do have
All the infrastructure.
all the infrastructure. Well, that's another topic, but basically the wells are protected. There, we have easements for those areas, for maintaining all those areas. But, you know, you still have wellhead areas within the wellhead protection area.
And easements for all these water runs and stuff,
There are no easements for major sewer lines and water lines within the old fairways of the golf course.
There's no specific easements. There's a general statement in there, which we discussed before, whether we pursue or not. And at this point, since he can't build, it's less of an issue.
I would think the purchase of the golf course properties would be of major interest to the Improvement Association. They have more value to the Improvement Association than what I can't say more value. They have a value to the Improvement Association beyond what LASA has. I am not opposed to having discussions with the Improvement Association in terms of where to go from here in terms of the potential purchase. In terms of Neil's proposal for the offer of purchase for all of it for LASA, I don't think that that's really appropriate, but with a partnership with the Improvement Association, we might be able to get a win-win situation set up. And I think that that's something that LASA ought to discuss with them.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah, we should discuss that. I can make that be known to the group. Because they will be talking to the owner, Wiley, if anybody does. Yeah. They're the one that have the interest.
Well, we both have an interest.
Yes.
I think Neil expounded on what our interest is, but I believe that the Improvement Association has, I won't say a bigger interest, but a more immediate interest than what we do at this point. I mean, we're status quo at this point. We do have the easements. We have a prescriptive easement in terms of those unidentified water and sewer lines underneath the fairways. But I think a partnership might be something that both parties and even Whaley might be interested in. I mean, at this point, he spent probably at least 100,000 in terms of attorney fees in that lawsuit. He's spent over 600,000 for the initial note, almost 700, whatever it was. He put several $100,000 into the renovation of the clubhouse. At this point, he's got to be just thinking about cutting his losses, hopefully. And it might be an opportune time for us to get this discussion going.
Agree. So, any other discussions, thoughts? Can we put that in a motion, maybe?
I move that the last board authorize the committee to pursue negotiations regarding those properties.
Not us, the LAIA group to do it. I think what John was saying is LAIA board would take the lead and we would go back to LAIA and say, we are interested in helping or working with you to, if you choose to pursue it. That's my understanding, not purchasing. We're not gonna purchase it directly. I don't think we wanna get in the way of LAIA.
I don't think so either, particularly it's going to require probably a couple $100,000 for demolition and cleanup.
Oh, yeah.
It's that part of it is of extreme benefit to the Improvement Association, whereas that doesn't really affect LASA at all. Those deteriorated buildings can sit there from a LASA standpoint. We got a water and sewer line going into it, that's it. But I think that the Improvement Association ought to move forward, but I think as they move forward, we want to be in constant communication and be willing to contribute to that purchase to some extent.
Well,
Is that-
I guess my motion was that the operating committee be authorized by the board to carry out discussions with Loch Alpine Improvement Association toward the purchase of that property. There's a lot of good reasons.
For wellhead protection, yeah.
Yeah, for wellhead
For the
protection.
purposes.
There's another aspect to it. All that property is the method for draining property in Scioto Township, Webster Township, to flow stormwater into the Huron River. It's
Yes,
a
it's
major,
part of the drainage plan, yeah.
it's simply the only way. There's no storm drain in Loch Alpine. It's the roads and the fairways that carry the water in there. And somebody ought to be able to glom onto the property to make sure that it's always there so the water flows properly. So that's my
That's
motion.
kind of,
I'm not exactly sure what your motion is. I believe that it is to authorize or to recommend to the LASA board to direct the operating committee to enter into discussions with the Loch Alpine Improvement Association to endeavor a purchase of the golf course.
That would work,
Okay,
all or part of the golf course.
yeah,
So
all,
that-
yeah,
There'd
all
be
are,
some indication that
Well,
some financial
that would be
help.
part of those discussions.
Yeah.
Just make it blanket golf course at this point. And, you know, we're concerned with where the wellheads are, the wellhead protection area, and we're concerned about our water and sewer lines. The Improvement Association might be concerned about the weeds growing. You know, the coyotes, you know, dens and so on. Those aren't our concerns. Those weeds don't hurt us a bit. Those coyotes aren't harming us at all, other than the howling we hear at night. But they have, the Improvement Association has different set of issues that they need to get out of the way than what LASA has. Ours is merely safety in terms of our well and sewer. Their issues have to do with aesthetics and home values and everything else.
that's it. Now, this
Safety
is,
and access to our sewer lines.
Well, I think the easements probably
I can tell you.
allow
We
that.
don't have good easements.
Well, we have prescriptive easements and we have some,
Anyway, I like your motion, I made it, I don't know if I can second it.
well,
made it.
well, I wanna get.
I was just trying to reword it a little bit.
You did
Yeah,
well.
well, I wanted, that's why I wanna get something formally here, real close, because it is kind of,
Okay, so if I understand correctly, the motion is to recommend to the LASA board to direct the operations committee to discuss the purchase of the golf course with Loch Alpine Improvement Association with the, you know, stipulation that our concern specifically is particular to the water and sewer lines.
to work with the LAIA on the purchase of it, or to just indicate we'll supportive of,
Well, I had
Okay.
written just discuss the purchase.
okay,
So
okay, good enough.
we've.
Is that good, everyone?
Yeah.
Motion to accept, or wait, we have a motion?
Aye.
Neil,
I'll second
John will second it, all in favor? Aye.
So that motion is from Neil, seconded by John.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Sorry to get on it, but it's good, good topics you're bringing up, Neil. Thank you.
Troublemaker.
Important issues.
Important, very important.
Yeah, I certainly don't think that the clubhouse and the pool would be something that we would want to be involved in.
All right, moving on, communication website updates. Understand the website group has been in discussions, Michael and Dave.
Yeah, Michael gave you a good update on some of the stuff that's been accomplished. I just kind of bulleted it and I go down them really quick. Michael obtained the domain lastsaltwater.org and registered it.
So we have that done.
Yeah, that's done. And then a new website's been set up. It's hosted on a different site than where the domain's registered. So kind of the plan is to move some of the content from the Loch Alpine water page over that might not be on the new site. Kind of a question of what to do with the web page on the Loch Alpine site. You know, we can either keep them both the same and, you know, kind of every time there's an update, do it in both places, or there is the option of just kind of trimming down the Loch Alpine one and just directing them over to the Lasso.
Keep it simple. I would suggest we keep to one but we gotta be ready to go when we switch, or and have the new
The other
site.
one's operational. If you go there right now, I don't know if any of you
What is
been
this?
to it, it's lassawater.org.
It looks great.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
a
we'll take a look at
modern,
it.
a modern WordPress type site. It's a good site.
All I did was throw together, I looked at Ann Arbor Townships, not Webster's, but, all these other places. Put this website info together, so
The Loch Alpine one.
the lockout, the one that's, and I think we cut bait. Other than to have a one-page, hey, here's your emergency, here, the board members call these
Yeah, we
numbers,
can-
that's it.
We'll put any proposal to trim that one down in front of you beforehand, but Michael did all the heavy lifting on setting a new site up. And he's also looking into online billing account options. And Michael will have more depth on this if we want to discuss it, but I think there's two options: utility billing services and BS&A are places that do this, make it easy to set up and do. There's gonna be some costs associated with that. Other data issues, right now, everything's on a laptop still that he's working with. The longer term thing might be to move our data and applications over to a server at the township for better security. The databases, the applications, just kind of a thought.
And just to chime in, Scioto Township now has a IT director. We're making leaps and bounds of progress, so I would just share that we would likely have the capacity and ability to host whatever data should the LASA board decide to do that.
And I would think that's the direction we wanna go is.
Yeah, it's just gonna be better, I
Towards the
think.
township, those townships are responsible for us operation anyway.
Yeah, they're gonna do a better job at the overall security and having VPNs and things.
Yeah, Chris Bailey, our IT director.
Chris Bailey
Awesome
is,
job.
okay,
Yeah.
Chris Bailey is,
Chris
Yeah.
Bailey, okay. We're still working on email redirects to the new site. That's part of the setting up the new site. So board members and committee members will get emails through some of the ones that are existing already. Hardware, the laptop's working for now. Michael recommends we get a fully Adobe license for PDF creations. I don't know what we have now, probably using 360 to create PDFs, but not optimal. And I guess there's a Surface laptop that the operators have that seems to be working out okay. And then just the last one, and it kind of relates to, I guess, some of the stuff that you were covering about the historical data. A lot of it's on paper. Should some of it or all of it be digitized? And then there's probably records retention requirements that we have to meet. So that's just, again, something for the board to consider longer term. Where should those records end up?
So Barb and I did talk about the records retention schedules. I mean, first of all, it's all dictated by the state of Michigan. So whether it's electronic or paper, it's just a matter of operationalizing it. So I know that's something digitally we're trying to do here at Scioto Township. But really, Barb and I are gonna start at the treatment plant with the paper and some shredding bits. Because much of what we have need not be retained, say, old receipts and things like that. So, I mean, I know Barb has said too, we've even talked about maybe having a cleanup day where we kind of dig in and roll up our sleeves and start getting things organized before we consider spending the time digitizing.
Triage step to start.
Stop digging, yes.
That's pretty much all I have. Like I said, Michael might have some more in-depth information on any of this if
well, my goal, it's just, I see how LAIA works now. I'm not too familiar with the township, but they have a website, they have documents, retention, they have all their information, their hit zero pass stuff. It's all available either through a username, password, or general public to some degree. And it just seems like we need to, LASA should be there through this, using the township website or however we can.
Yeah, we just need to develop an agreement, whatever Lasa's comfortable with. I think we now have enough capacity here that we could keep things properly segregated.
Okay, so we just need to get a schedule when we want to kind of do this stuff. What's the highest priority now? What's important, most important that you feel, and head down that direction so we can kind of keep an eye on it, monitor it, and see if we're making progress.
Well, I encourage you to look at the new
I'll look
website
at
that's
that.
been
Yeah,
set
I was
up.
on it a month ago, and it wasn't too early, but I'll check.
Yeah, I mean, still got a few things here and there. I tried to, it's got a form on there for surveying people about desire for electronic billing. And the form seems to not be fully operational yet. So there's some things like that, but you can certainly get the idea of what we're going for, so.
Good, excellent. We need to be there.
Yeah, thank you for your work.
Hey, Michael.
All right, any other discussion on communication? So we're leaving it as is until we switch over. You tell, or
Again, I don't think, I mean, I would propose that we still keep something on Loch Alpine, but we just sort of make it mostly be some information that directs them over to the
agree.
glass of water.
Any other comments or on that? Any?
And I would just say on the back end of things, something like an Adobe license, Sile is gonna be able to get that at a much better cost. We have,
Right.
15 of them. So, if we can add one on, I think we just, need a simple interagency agreement for those things if Lassa wants to go that way.
Okay, thanks.
Great, glad to see you're, we're getting there, seeing signs. Any other discussion on that?
Any questions for me that I can help fill in any blanks?
Emergency notification process. We had been drilled by the neighborhood, Michael, to notify, be able to send an email out when, like a water main break occurs or there's a boil water advisory or whatever the case might be. You have that file, right? You're aware of that file?
Yes, and we've been getting updates, additional updates from people as they email. On the bill, we added, please send us your information. And I've had probably 10 since the billing bill went out. And I'm updating our BSNA at the same time. So eventually I'm looking to have all the email addresses in BSNA so that we can use it for emergency notification as well as email billing.
Okay, so Brandon, you need to be aware that, we've got a resource now that can get that information out quickly in addition to your posting on the streets or whatever.
Yes, when we have to post on the streets, I don't like doing that. It's no fun. It's no fun.
And that using email will not be the fastest way to do it, of course. Texting message or whatever would be better. But Brandon, you and I can talk about what you would like in some kind of a notice. And I can look at putting together something in BSNA utility billing to do an email to everyone that has a standard format and a notice.
There's a document for like a boil water, there's a specific document Eagle requires us to use with certain wording.
Okay. And
So if there's situations like that, I'll get that to you for sure.
Yeah, if we can get those, if we can look at that proactively and set something up so that when that does happen, it's a matter of run this report for these customers and mail that out. Yes, that's the goal.
Perfect.
All right, great. Any other?
Just one other question, Michael, we haven't talked about this yet, but I just want to flag, we need to be preparing for our audit as well and probably touch base with our auditor.
Yes, that will be in the next part, but yes, we are doing audit prep work right now. We have been in contact with the auditor and the audit is planned for early October. So Ryan Clark and Colleen Coogan from Woodhill are working on that end of things. I keep customers happy, do billing and collections. And
Thank you,
pay
Michael.
bills. So that's how the breakdown is on our side, and that is in the process.
Thank
Great,
you, Michael.
great. All right, well, if there's no other discussion on that topic, moving on to the financial, to your report, Michael, I see you've sent out a package to us. We're not familiar with that format, or haven't seen it in that format before. So maybe it's fine, maybe you ought to just walk us through it real quickly.
Or could
Sure.
could you screen share, Michael?
Yeah,
Let me see what I can do here. Where, okay. Trying to get, there we go. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Not really. Hold on a second. Let me move this just a sec. I'm trying to use two screens, so it's not working the best. There we go.
Just maybe zoom a little bit.
Yep, I'm working on that. All right, can you see this now?
Yes. You
Okay,
can make it a little bit bigger for us, if you'd be so kind.
I can make it as big as I can. There, how's that?
there you go.
Good.
There you go.
Okay, essentially, since I wasn't familiar with what your previous reporting looked like, I put together something so I could become familiar with what your average billings look like, and then I built it out for the beginning of the year, the first few quarters here. So in the July-September period, we billed $201,817 overall. Sewer usage and sprinkler usage is here. This is how much we've collected. There's more information than you're probably looking for in this kind of report, but I thought I'd start with this, and we can always reduce it later. So what questions would you have about this particular report?
Well, is this typical, or is there anything out of the ordinary?
Everything seemed fine at the moment. What I would like to do eventually is kind of tie in your water production with the billing cycle, so we can get a water loss rate.
Yes, agree.
That's down the road a little bit. Now I can work with Brandon on your pumpage and wastewater treatment flows. So really what I wanted to show you today is that we've been billing money. We've done some adjustments where we're taking these meters that aren't providing a read. Customers have been providing information to us, and I've been adjusting and getting them back on track with their bills. We do have some sprinkler accounts that have not been read in over a year. And so I'm going to get a list to Brandon, and we can see how we can take care of that. A lot of those are the meter problems as well. And just trying to provide information that's useful to you, so that you know we're billing, collecting, taking care of customers. I have a 800 or a toll-free number that takes a message, and then I've been calling customers back. I've talked to quite a few customers. So we're trying to provide that customer service on that end as well. And then the website, my goal there is to make that self-service so that people can go to that, send me an email or send me a form, and then we can update them from there, as well as moving as many people as possible to ACH billing. Anytime we don't have to touch a paper check is a savings and an efficiency to the township, or to the authority, I'm sorry. That's that. And then on the additional pages, this is our billing summary from our July billing. Payables report. who we paid, and this is all since we took over on July 1st. I started, there were no checks run between the end of June and the transition. So these are the open invoice. Yes.
We're losing 20 grand, we're billing 20 grand more than we're bringing in at this point through a 30-day cycle typically. Am I reading that right?
Where are you looking?
Billing summary, the 201,000 billing and receiving summary, 182,000.
Yes, and that's simply the amount of money we brought in. We're not losing money. That's just money that hasn't been collected yet.
So that's what I mean. We got that many people going over 30 days.
Dave, that's through September though.
Okay, that might not be through 30 days. Okay. I don't know what the time frame is.
Yeah, we had quite a bit of collections. People did pay relatively well.
Okay, so this is typical.
Yeah, I don't see any major issues there at all.
Okay.
Generally, they're paying within 60 days, and and we do have a accounts receivable report here. So we'll go down to that. So most of the transaction totals for accounts receivable, 23,000 of the 42 is with less than 30 days overdue. So we expect that this will clear up pretty quickly. We've got some outstanding accounts that are overdue and have been for a long time, but overall, over half of it is less than 30 days past due. And we do charge them a 10% penalty, so they will also pay for that. Any other questions that I can provide you? And in the future, we're going to give you a standard package that includes the balance sheet, the income statement, those kind of things. But doing with the audit, the transition, we just didn't get that done in time for today's meeting.
Michael, you're doing a lot and you're doing an awesome job.
I'm trying.
Really, truly, your whole team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you think that you might be able to have the financials ready for the board meeting? The
Yes.
1st of October? Okay,
Yes,
great.
that's the goal. We also have to have we're going to be preparing or starting the audit right after that. So yes, we want to get those things up to date. My main goal, as I said, is to make sure your customers are happy, they're billed properly, we collect the money, we put it in the bank. So that's my wheelhouse on this project.
And what feedback have you gotten from customers about the new bills or new processes?
Let's see, I had one customer say on the back of the bill, you should put the contact information on the top so it doesn't go with the bill statement. But other people have said they like the bill format. It's somewhat understandable for them. And I just we're getting our feet wet. I haven't had too many problems. I had a couple of customers that I actually went out and I was in the area, so I went out and did a final read for them because it was easier than getting Brandon to go out there and do it. It took me 10 minutes. So I had met customers. I just like to have customers feel like their concerns are addressed. So if you have any customers that don't feel that way, please let me know and I will get right on that.
Well, we like your customer focus. Very good.
Yeah. I pay a water bill too. Nobody likes to pay them, but the other things, just a couple other hot topics. As David Fisher said, moving this application to a server behind a VPN, having automatic backups, I think that's the long-term direction. That really is the long-term direction for security of your data, redundancy. And I did talk to BSNA, and this application can coexist on a server with like Scioto Township or Webster Township's data as well. So it is doable. I think it's the right long-term direction.
Okay. Okay, so we need, can you pursue that with the township then, IT, Chris Bailey, or I should say, do we recommend to the board, LASA board, that we pursue this website and server
Data storage.
data storage for the loss of records and information accounts?
I would, if I might, I would say the recommendation, if you wanted to pursue it, would be to investigate the hosting of BS&A utility billing, accounts payable, and general ledger for the authority on a township server. The website is a separate issue, and that's all.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'd be happy to help provide that and pull that information together with our IT director and our manager.
All right, so Jessica, we'll challenge you for that one.
All right.
I have one more question. One of the things that people have asked about are online payments. Can I pay with a credit card? That's something that we would need to engage an outside a payment processor and integrate with DSNA. There's options to do that. Are you interested in pursuing something like that?
I think down the road maybe, but let's take small steps.
Sure.
Let's
Dave,
get it.
if I could concur, because I concur with Dave, and I will just say one piece we need to take is get our documented internal controls in place for our existing ACH. So I'd like to start there, which is a requirement we need to meet first.
That's fine with me. I just was gauging interest here because none of it is not going to happen the next 3 weeks. So, and then emailing of bills, I'm investigating that. That is not something that has any financial impact. It is simply instead of or in addition to a paper bill, they could get an email copy of their bill. I'm going to work on turning that up. And then online access to account information is a BSNA feature. I believe Scioto Township has it, where you can just go to the website, to the BSNA online website, and look at your bill and your billing history, your payment history.
Correct, for taxes and UB.
Yes, and so would there be any interest in that? Because that is an existing feature. It needs to be basically switched on for the customers. There is a cost to it on an annual basis. And I can get that number to you.
Okay.
And I think that's all I have today, unless you have other questions.
I have a question.
Neil?
It's difficult to see the screens, and I haven't looked at all this on my computer, but this committee has historically looked at the problems of long delinquent accounts and made decisions on where to go regarding the customers who don't pay their accounts, like putting liens on properties and things like this. Do you have a list, or can you provide a list to this committee showing long delinquent accounts and what's happened with, trying to collect the money?
Sure, I can get that. I can get you a delinquent account list and a payment history on. I think there's a couple that have been outstanding for a while, including it's the Country Club. No, I understand that, but I believe that's one of your over 180-day accounts. But yes, I can provide that.
How big is that particular account?
Let's see.
Well, it's on, he's got when you get back home, you'll see the list. I think.
What's on there?
I think he had accounts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's got every part of it. What is this list he's got? That's not everyone, is it?
These are all outstanding accounts. Yes.
All the outstanding accounts are listed. He's got the list. So you can look at that, you know,
Yes, and I can pull that together.
individual basis.
Yeah, I don't have it offhand here.
Okay,
I'd have to scroll through this and, oh, here it is, hold on. Ann Arbor Country Club, looks like 2217.60. So about $2,200.
and he's been putting those on the tax rolls, I assume, in the past.
That might be a way to negotiate.
Well, so overall, the concern, the only other thing, Michael, I want to discuss is the plan. What's the goal is 2 years from now, you're gonna leave us alone and we're off sailing down the road high and mighty. Will we need to bring someone aboard or something? What's the interim plan to kind of monitor how we're doing here? Do we, should we have someone aboard within a year here that you're training, or should we be looking to the township? We often talk about Scioto Township being a potential, being able to pick this up, but yet I hear nothing from Scioto in that area, or even an interest to date. Not that I've specifically asked it of them, but what do you see here as far as the plan to get us up to speed and you out the door? Not that we love you, you're doing a great job.
I asked the same question of a company. How do I get you out the door? Our goal here is to be your provider and work with you as long as is appropriate. So if we can get, for instance, if we can get this on the server, that's a major step forward. I think that gives you confidence and security. And then that's a step towards integrating and having somebody at the township hall do it on a, however that memo of understanding comes about. But our goal is not to, our goal is to do the right thing and the efficient thing. Right now, I come and pick up checks. I process a lot of checks. That's time-consuming work. If we can eliminate some of those inefficiencies, I want to do those sooner than later. In a year, we can. I think that's going to evolve. Pretty much. I guess I don't have a good answer for you on the time frame, but my goal is sooner than later. And I know Colleen's is to, she keeps telling me we should just have this on the township server. That's one of the first steps. And we need to hand this off. So if it's less than 2 years, we will recommend that to you.
All right, we need to just keep reviewing that, make sure we're on track, or if we're falling behind, let us know too. I think what I've seen, I'm very pleased with the getting LASA into the 21st century with our IT work. It's looks much better. The July billing was excellent. I thought it was a good step in the right direction.
I thought that was a good time to do that. It was a jumping off point that worked out okay. So any thoughts and ideas on better customer service or information we can add to the bill, or how we can communicate with customers? Please let me know. You're closer to them than I am in terms of talking to them and experiencing the same things. So.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Questions?
Dave, if I could, I just want to briefly introduce Lori Carey. You can just wave. Put a name to a face. She's our full-time finance assistant now and handles utility billing for the township. She does an awesome job, a lot of experience, former treasurer of Manchester Township, certainly understands public service and is implementing a lot of improvements to our utility billing here. in partnership with some additional finance director help we're bringing in. So I'd say we have a few months of heavy lifting to do internally here. But from my perspective, my hope would be by, sometime in 2024, Scioto Township could be in a better position to have a serious conversation about taking it over.
Great. What's your last name? Kelly?
Carrie.
Carrie. C?
A-R-E-Y.
Thanks, Lauren. All right, Michael, good job. Can we move on? Anybody else? Okay, new business? Any discussion? Moving on. Next board meeting is the 2nd of October, and the ops meeting will be December 8th. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Did you have public comment at some point?
No, I had public comment at the beginning. You want another one?
No, nobody spoke, so I was wondering if.
Yeah,
About 5 members on Zoom.
okay. Well, I think,
Move to adjourn.
I second that.
okay, finally got that adjournment we'll call it 11 o'clock. Sorry for the 2-hour meeting. We'll try to get this down. My goal is nothing more than an hour. And I failed.
We'll get there.
Good meeting.
All right, that's it, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.